if I do a good job at my job, I won't ever need a resume. I'll have connections and I'll meet people, and that should a new opportunity arise, I want people to have a positive impression of me and understand that, oh, she would be awesome for this role.
Welcome to Marketing Your Way podcast, a show for women in marketing and creative fields who are ready to rethink what's next. I'm your host, Anastasia Mann, marketing strategist, agency owner, career mentor, and once upon a time, a corporate VP of marketing. This is your go-to space for career reinvention, whether that means launching your own business, pivoting into freelance, or finding a role that finally feels like a fit. Each week, I bring you honest stories, actionable strategies, and mindset tools to help you move forward with clarity and confidence. We'll also dive into what's actually working in marketing right now, from personal branding and client acquisition to AI tools and emerging trends shaping the future of our industry. And just in case you're wondering, yes, this podcast comes with a Ukrainian accent and a whole lot of straight talk, because it's time to build a career that works for you. Let's dive in. Today's guest is someone who proves you don't always need a resume when your work speaks for itself. Lindsey McFadden is the Chief Marketing Officer at StretchZone, one of the fastest growing wellness franchisees in the country, with over 400 locations and zero closures. Yes, zero. She leads an all-female marketing team, supports both corporate and franchise growth, and brings a refreshing real-world take on the leadership, work-life balance, and what it really means to grow a career that fits your life. Lindsey's journey started in consulting, where she first worked with StretchZone as an outside partner, and just a few years later, she was invited in-house to build and lead the department as CMO. She's a champion of women in business, a working mom of two, and someone who's redefining success on her own terms. Let's get into it. Welcome, Lindsey, to Marketing Your Way podcast. I'm very excited to have you here with us today. And before we dive in, if you were introducing yourself at a dinner party, how would you describe what you do?
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here. If I was to introduce myself at a dinner party, I would say, hi, my name is Lindsey, and I'm the problem. I always say that first because it makes people laugh. But for work, I always say that I lead a marketing team in a wellness franchise that is really revolutionizing the stretching industry.
Amazing. So you are currently working as a CMO at StretchZone, which is one of the biggest franchise companies right now in the United States. And when we were talking a little bit before the show, I know that you started as a consultant first for them, and then you went full-time with StretchZone. So could you please walk us through how that happened?
Yeah, so I was working for a consulting firm called Wild Coffee for some time, and StretchZone became a client of ours. At the time, there was no internal marketing department or headcount at all, and they were really looking for an agency of record arrangement, which makes a lot of sense for growing and emerging brands. And so I was essentially the lead on the account for StretchZone while I was at this consulting firm. And as StretchZone grew exponentially, our engagement grew kind of in the same capacity. So while I was a consultant, I actually hired an internal marketing person for StretchZone that worked on site that I kind of managed remote. And then over time, Tony, who's our president and CEO, said, we're basically ready to build out the department in-house. We've gotten to a point where we need those functions in-house. And I want you to come on and lead the team. So I did just that about almost 3 years after I originally started working with the brand.
This is the best story that could happen in the marketing field, right? Because you start working with a client and then you see exactly what they need from the inside. The CEO was very smart to hire you. Did you ever imagine that consulting job would lead to you becoming a CMO?
Not specifically to becoming a CMO, but I really enjoyed working with Tony and the team that he had built at StretchZone. And I kind of always thought, this isn't going anywhere. I'm going to be around here for a while. And so while I didn't have a plan necessarily to come in-house and to build a team here, sometimes when you meet people that you really enjoy working with and the work really aligns with your core strengths and competencies and the culture is a fit, that doesn't happen all the time. So it was coming home in a lot of ways when I kind of made the switch from the consultant role to the in-house role. When you're in a consulting engagement, so often I felt really limited because if our scope was just for something specific, I would dive in and say, okay, we can do this, or we can execute, or we can solve, but this is connected to 6 or 7 or 12 other things. But if I don't have the control or the availability of time, energy, resources, whatever it is to impact those, that your output is kind of limited based on scope, right? Well, when you flip that script on the inside, now it's all my problem. So, good, bad, or indifferent, having the ability to really execute things across marketing is, I think, the singular department that touches every other department, right? For operational things, for training things, for franchise sales. And so being in this seat now and having a team supporting the department, we really work cross-functionally with all the other departments.
This episode is brought to you by the Full Focus Planner, the only paper planner that's ever helped me actually feel more in control of my time. Created by productivity expert Michael Hyatt, this planner is designed to help you set clear goals, stay focused on what matters most, and finally break free from the never-ending to-do list cycle. As a busy mom, business owner, and content creator, I use mine to map out my week, set work-life boundaries, and make space for the needle-moving work, not just the urgent stuff. If you're ready to stop feeling reactive and start feeling on purpose, check it out at marketingyourwaypodcast.com/full focus planner. It's marketingyourwaypodcast.com/full focus planner. I currently just work on retainers for that particular reason, because I can support them much better on a retainer position, and I can see, and if there's something outside the scope, I'll quote it out and I'll tell them this is what needs to happen, this is what we need to work on. But at the same time, if you are working just based on the really limited scope of work, as you said, it is hard to control like that end goal. And just to take us a little bit back, before that consulting job, how did your career in marketing begin?
So, great question. Once I finished grad school, I started working my career really in the multi-unit space. I was working for a home healthcare company that has since been acquired. But at the time, it was 35 locations, regional Southeast United States based. And so while I was working in the corporate office, I kind of started my career working in the multi-location capacity. From there, went to work for then a different franchise brand, and then took some time to go to the creative side. I worked in an agency for 5 years, and then a consulting firm. And so having both sides, the in-house versus the agency experience, I think is just crucial and really important for marketers to have the kind of exposure and the experience in both sides. Because now I think my agency relationships are so much more productive and well managed, because I've been on the other side, so I understand what it takes and what's good versus what's not. But I've always focused on the multi-unit kind of setup, whether franchised or corporate owned, because it's interesting to me. It's a puzzle that I feel like is never solved, because when you're trying to execute a singular brand across different locations and different demographics and different nuances, it's kind of a puzzle to me. How do we create this to be strong and synergistic and really leverage the brand strength while allowing for a stretch zone, at least, the customization so that it resonates in the local market? And that's kind of always been the case. We're here in South Florida. We're based in Fort Lauderdale. Our Texas stores, we've got a whole bunch of locations in Texas. Their ads say y'all, and we don't say that down here, but I love that works in Texas, So I think the multi-unit space has always been interesting to me and always been a fun challenge. So that's where I've spent most of my time, even when on the consulting or agency side, was working on multi-location brands.
Beautiful. I loved our podcast conversation, so I need to bring that back and that question. So when we were just chatting, you mentioned that you never had a resume in your career besides probably the very first time. Could you please walk us through that process? How were you able to progress and right now be a CMO of one of the most successful franchise companies in the US?
People will sometimes ask, can you send me your resume or a bio or something for whether it's a podcast or just an opportunity of some sort? And I always kind of respond like, I don't really have one. I can give you a bio I wrote, but I've been really fortunate in that I've made awesome relationships in every job that I've had. And I've kind of gone from one role to another based on relationships that I had existing. And I think that I hold my professional reputation in high regard. When you do good work and you say what you mean and you mean what you say, and you do what you say you're going to do, It sounds like those are really basic things, but I find that they're increasingly rare. And I've always thought to myself, what is a statistic? Like 90% of people lie on your resume, and I don't even know. I always said, if I do a good job at my job, I won't ever need a resume. I'll have connections and I'll meet people. And that should a new opportunity arise, I want people to have a positive impression of me and understand that, oh, she would be awesome for this role. Or if I ever choose that I want to do something else, that I'm not going to be crawling, job boards, I'd hopefully be making a few phone calls and say, hey, I'm looking for something new. It's not like a status symbol or something. It's actually quite often asked, and I don't have one. And my feeling is if I'm not applying for jobs, I don't need one. So, yeah, here we are.
I love that. I've had that experience in my corporate life as well. When I just started as a marketing assistant and I climbed the ladder within the same company. So I didn't have the resume either for the longest time because I started as a marketing assistant and my last job title was VP of Marketing for Development Division. One of the things that definitely helped was the simple things like giving a deadline to someone. If someone asks you, when can you do this or when can this be done? You give them the deadline and you get that done. That was like the simplest thing that, looking back, I think got me promoted because I would be always very cautious in those deadlines, just knowing how people get attached to those dates. And I'd rather give them, a few extra days that I need to get something done and I will finish it sooner than vice versa.
It's really underrated. And I think if you can do that, you're so much further ahead than most. It's baseline. It's what you have to do. I'm just finding more and more that it's not as common as I perhaps once thought.
So for women listening who feel a little bit overlooked at work, what advice would you give them about getting recognized?
Being proud of the work that you're doing is really important, and presenting it in a meaningful way. Understanding how the work you're doing ties to business KPIs or, financial goals or operational goals, and how you're supporting that and being able to present that in a meaningful way will get you recognition. You don't want to be bragging or just showing things for the sake of showing it, but how is the work that you're doing tying to a core business objective? And then what is that outcome, right? And I think one of the biggest things also is, I say it all the time, I have no idea, or I'm wrong, or let me go figure that out. I think being confident in knowing that you don't know it all, you're not expected to know it all, and that's a common misconception, is asking for help when you need it or asking questions. We were in a meeting earlier and I'm like, I don't understand that. Can you please explain it to me? And I think there's strength and power in knowing you don't know it all and being okay to ask and to learn. I try to instill that in my team as well. Oftentimes we'll be in a meeting and I'll take a pause and say, does everybody understand what that means? Or is everybody with me? And by taking that second to kind of just breathe and make sure people are coming along is really important and often overlooked. A lot of times women are more shy and not as vocal in speaking up in group settings and large rooms like that. And so I just want to make sure that my team has a safe space and feels comfortable and confident in doing that.
Yes, that's such a great point. One more thing that while you were speaking, I remember reading this book at the beginning of my career, Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. A lot of times we tend to do small tasks first just because it's easy to check them off from our list and we feel a little sense of accomplishment in the end of the day. But the big tasks that require focus, to think about it, to do the research, etc., we tend to put aside. And that's probably the tasks that do bring the biggest ROI for the company. And we tend to procrastinate on those tasks. It's also one of the things that you can do as a young woman in the marketplace is to start thinking, what are the tasks, if I start working on them now, that will bring the biggest ROI to the department or the company that you work for.
Tony, our CEO, he walks around, he has a mug that he uses every day and it says, don't confuse effort with result. And I know that sounds really, really simple, but it's such an important reminder. And I've kind of stolen that and I use it with franchisees when I'm talking with them. And oftentimes it's easy for all of us to get caught up in the things. And I'm like, wait a second, are these the right things? Are these the wrong things? Are these the things that are going to get us to where we need to be? And if you're as type A as I am, it requires a little bit of a rewiring of your brain to understand, like, it's okay if we're not going to get back to these things today. Maybe we'll get them tomorrow or maybe not, but that's okay. Because if we're focused on the things that matter, that's all that matters.
Yes. I remind myself, like, Okay, you have to start on the income producing tasks as a business owner before I start just checking things off of my list. So, franchising and multi-unit leadership can be very male-dominated. What has it been like to grow your career in that space?
I think I've been really fortunate to work alongside some really incredible men. Objectively, it has been mostly men. But I think that I've always felt respected and that I had a seat at the table and that gender was not part of the equation. I don't know that that's the case for everyone, so I feel very fortunate to be able to say that. But I also think we're seeing a lot of change in that now. In franchising and in business in general, right? Our most recent statistic is that 43% of our franchisees are female. Being in a business and an industry that is so well represented by women, it's less of a thing in my day to day. But I know that that's not the case for everyone. But I feel very fortunate that I've worked alongside some really incredible men in my career so far that have always treated me as an equal and with respect.
This episode is sponsored by Relay, the workflow tool I wish I had when I first started managing multiple clients, content calendars, and team approvals. Relay helps you automate the back and forth, the approvals, reminders, follow-ups, so you can actually focus on marketing, not chasing updates or sorting through email threads. Whether you're running a solo business or managing a growing team, Relay helps you streamline and scale without the overwhelm. Check it out at marketingyourwaypodcast.com/relay. The link supports the show, and I think you're going to be obsessed. So Stretch Zone has seen incredible growth. You have 400 open studios across 41 states with 0 closures. What's been key to success?
It really comes down to franchisee support and strong unit level economics. We have not cut corners where we could have, perhaps, and we're providing a service that really adds value. This isn't some gimmicky, add-on thing that people take it or leave it. Our stretching really changes people's lives, and that's kind of the backbone of what we do is the testimonials of how we've impacted people and changed the way they live for the better. And so that there's been such a renewed focus on health and wellness, especially in a post-COVID world and with an aging population, that part of it is our service and our offering is really needed. I will tell you, we still have a long way to go in terms of education. People still don't know who we are largely and what we do sometimes. In some ways, the biggest brand that nobody's ever heard of. But as we grow and as the industry grows, right, there's been competition that's come into the space over the years. And to me, I think of that as an opportunity and a real positive, right? A rising tide lifts all boats. So to the extent that we can have more awareness and education in the marketplace around stretching as a modality and as something that can really help people, that kind of helps us all. And then from there, we can harp on, our differentiators and what makes us stand out from the crowd and really the premium choice in the space.
So as a CMO, what role does your team play in supporting both corporate and franchise marketing right now?
Both, all the above. So in-house, we have a really robust support system. I will tell you at Stretch Zone, more so than any brand I've worked at, the support that we have internally for our network is unparalleled. Whether that is in marketing, but also working really closely alongside our franchise business coaches and our operations team and our training team. We work very closely. And so some of the team supports franchisee focused initiatives like store openings and grand openings, and others is kind of corporate initiatives only, meaning, franchise sales or just corporate brand initiatives and kind of back of house stuff. So the team supports both. Different people do different things. And as we grow and expand, part of it just becomes a bandwidth conversation. So we'll need to bring on more people in the franchisee support realm as we continue to grow.
Absolutely. We have a Stretch Zone about 10 minutes away from my house, and my husband definitely loves you guys. I haven't tried it, so I have to make an appointment. Yes. So you're a mom of 2, right? And you have this amazing, demanding career. So what does balance look like these days for you?
It's funny, I don't believe in that word. I think it's like a mythical unicorn and everybody wants to talk about work-life balance. And to me, it's hard and it's something I think is constantly present. But how I handle it is I just try to be fully present in wherever I am or whatever I'm doing. When I'm at work, I'm at work. I'm locked in, I'm focused, and I'm here to do my job. And to the extent possible, when I'm with my family, I'm completely disconnected from work. I think I do a fairly good job at that. It's not always easy. It's not always possible, but that's really the secret to me of balance, is just being present where you are to the extent possible. And also understanding that I think when people talk about balance or work-life balance, they think of it in a very micro level, like, oh, do you have to commute to an office? Or, oh, you're there for 9 hours a day? Or, oh, you're in the car for 30 minutes. And to me, it's not in the day-to-day, although I understand that adds up. To me, it's zoom out, big picture. Stretch Zone affords me a life I love. I can travel, I can be with my family, I can feel like I'm making an impact at work, leading a team and growing some young talent that is looking to progress in their career. And so to me, some weeks are hard, some weeks are busy, other weeks are vacation, right? And trying to understand when to be on and off. I heard a long time ago that any working parent, you got to think of things as a dimmer switch. Sometimes work is brighter, sometimes family is brighter, but neither should be all on or all off. And as long as you can manage your dimmers to the best possible, that's kind of how you find this balance, if that's what we want to call balance.
Yes. One of the reasons why I opened up my agency at the beginning was to be able to have that flexibility to work from home and to be able to attend my kids' school events and things like that, because I did have like an hour commute and the company wasn't very flexible with our schedules. One of the things when you're starting a business, you're like, okay, I'll be able to do all of that. And then you realize it's either you're all on with work and like you're home, but you're thinking about work and your kids are talking to you and you need to tell them, hey, I'm sorry, I need 30 more minutes to finish. But I think I finally got a little bit a hang of it. For me, I need to have a slow morning. So I don't schedule any meetings until 11 o'clock. And then I have very focused time between 11 to 4. And then at 4 o'clock, when everyone gets home, I can accomplish 1-2 things, but that's not the high intensity tasks. It's something that I just have to check off, and it's like simple email that I have to send, and that would be it. Some seasons of life, it's all about family. Some seasons of life, it's all about career. And as a woman, I know that we wear more hats that we should in our life, but our brain works like that.
I'm really fortunate that at Stretch Zone, the organization has largely always been family first. And I've never had to miss a school play or graduation or little thing here or there. And having a team that has that same kind of core family values for our employees is really critical, because I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't be here if that weren't the case. So it's really important to all of us here to prioritize family time and not miss those key moments. And that's why we're all here. If you look around, a lot of the core team has been here for a long time because it's a really great place to work.
When I started a podcast, the idea was to have a podcast for women in marketing and creative fields who want to start their own businesses or freelance, side hustle, things like that. And what I realized by talking to women like you is that you can find balance, whatever that means for you. You can find flexibility and you can find a career that fulfills you. And owning a business might not be one of them, because it is not for everyone. And you just know that there's way too many hats that you're wearing as a business owner. And then the marketing becomes a little less fun at some point because you have to worry about other parts of payroll and acquiring clients and things like that. And you don't have that multifunctional team, at least at the beginning.
Yeah. Everybody asks me, oh, why don't you create your own agency, or why don't you do this on your own? I'm like, I have no desire to. I don't have to deal with insurance and taxes and payroll and all the things, right? It's just, I've never wanted to be on my own and an entrepreneur. I think that also something that comes with age is you start to learn your sweet spot. And over time, I've kind of learned mine too. I'm not scrappy startup mode. That's not my core competency. I'm also not really, really big corporate either. And so I think this kind of mid-level business, or specifically in franchising where we are now, is kind of my sweet spot, right? And different people have different sweet spots. I've worked with some people that I'm like, oh my God, if I ever knew somebody that was starting their own business, you'd be perfect, because down and dirty, scrappy startup mode, and that they just crush it and do really, really well. I have so much respect for that. That's not me. And I've learned that over time. Having the self-awareness, or kind of going through the reflection exercises to understand, it's really hard to get caught up with it when you're in the day-to-day, but taking a step back and saying, what am I good at here? Where am I adding the most value? What is taking away from my time? What is sucking energy or life from me that is not productive and not meaningful? And to the extent possible, how do we compensate for those, right? I do this exercise with my team every quarter is, what are the best parts of your job and what are the worst parts of your job? And to the extent possible, I try to take away the worst parts, right? I mean, it's called work, not fun, right? So everybody sometimes has got to do things that you don't love. But if I can exploit the strengths, right, I'm going to get better work product because people are working on things that they like or that they're passionate about and they enjoy. And if I can hire other things to compensate for the weaknesses, then everybody wins, So having somebody that's super creative stuck in analytical work is not going to end well, and vice versa. So really trying to have self-awareness around that, but also foster that awareness and really kind of train and cultivate that in my team has been, I think, really meaningful.
Wow. What a powerful leader you are. That's why I'm sure your people are staying with you for a long time in the marketing department.
I mean, it's not a perfect science, but it's a conscious effort, right? So it's not always perfect, but it's something I'm very, very intentional about.
Beautiful. So a really fun part of our conversation's coming. I love this rapid fire questionnaire. One leadership lesson you live by.
Do what you say you're going to do. Mean what you say and say what you mean.
Love it. Okay, favorite way to decompress?
This sounds maybe a little crazy. Airplanes. I love going on an airplane. It's the one place where I'm not really reachable and I can be completely decompress and disconnect, and I can just be in the clouds, literally, for some period of time.
Well, I wouldn't expect that. I love to travel too, and airplanes is a fun way for me to think that something fun is happening on the other side. So, marketing trend you're loving right now?
Specifically here at StretchZone, we're focused a lot on back to basics and human connection. And kind of what I've been, beating the drum on this year is interact before you transact, right? I think the pendulum has swung largely to the digital world where people are just totally focused on lead funnels and customer acquisition costs via different digital channels. And that pendulum, and largely because of COVID, swung so far to this digital focus that we've lost a piece of the human interaction and the connection component. And so a lot of what we've been doing at StretchZone this year is I'm kind of calling back to basics. How are we doing co-marketing events with neighbors and neighboring businesses? How are we getting out in the community and really putting a renewed focus on that? So I'm loving this back to basics, human interaction, kind of interact before you transact journey that we're on.
In real estate marketing, it's still also very important, the back to basics, because I had a similar conversation with one of my clients that the relationship-based marketing is still best and works best in anything that you do.
No, I agree. And especially in our business, we're such a personal business. We're a service business. People are coming to us once, twice, 3 times a week, sometimes more to be stretched. It's a very personal, literal, hands-on business that we're in a people business. So we can't just be behind digital screens and trying to market that way. People want to understand, they want to see, they want to feel, they want to touch, they want to get to understand who we are and what we do. And so that in our specific line of business, it's a requirement.
Yes. Something that you tell your younger self starting out in this industry.
You're far smarter than you think you are, and take bigger risks.
Yes. Thank you so much. It's truly the golden nuggets of the conversation. This episode is brought to you by Squarespace, an all-in-one platform I recommend to every marketer ready to launch their business and finally build a website they're proud to share. With Squarespace, you don't need to know how to code or wait on a designer. You can launch a beautiful professional site in just a weekend with built-in tools for services, contact forms, lead magnets, email marketing, even appointment booking. It's what I used to launch my first business website, and I still use it for client projects and sales pages today. If you're ready to show up online like the expert you are, check it out at marketingyourwaypodcast.com/Squarespace. That link supports the show, and your business deserves to be seen. So, for the woman listening who is brilliant at what she does, but wondering if she's doing her thing, what would you say to her?
It's great because I think we all often wonder that sometimes. If you don't have those self-reflection moments of what am I doing here? I have those days all the time, and it sounds dramatic or negative, and it really isn't. But I think understanding that don't let hard days make, big decisions. Everybody has a hard day, but if you're doing the right thing, it's, try something else. Don't be afraid to expand or try something new. Take risks. There used to be, I think, a negative connotation of switching jobs or industries or careers. And I'm not suggesting people need to job hop every 90 days or something, but I think that a degree means, my opinion, much less today, whether you have a psychology degree or a business degree or a marketing degree or advertising or communication. Do the thing that really drives you, what gets you excited, because that's where you'll have a big impact. Following your passions, where's your energy taking you, and then trying to find things aligned with that. Don't be afraid to change. And if you're doing a good job, I will tell you that most places would welcome you back with open arms. I would like to think that any of my past employers, if I said, hey, I'm looking to come back, I think there would be a job waiting for me.
Yes, I think that that's such an important lesson to live by, that it's okay to change. Different times of your life require a different version of you. In your early 20s, like the agency life, the PR life, organizing events, doing all the fun stuff, meeting people, that's probably is an amazing opportunity. But then you get married and you have kids and you're like, well, I don't want to be out every night doing the event planning right now. I would like to spend time with my family, with my kids, see them grow. And that's probably not the best time to do this job. And there's other avenues to explore. So there's always a time in your life that you're like, okay, so what do I do? Is this the right path? And I also wanted to mention that sometimes you can have two paths at the same time, because I did need to have a little bit of creative outlet. And that's why I started this podcast, so I can network with women like you and bring the messages to life and show what's possible for others. And I still love what I do with my marketing agency. I'm not planning to change that. But at the same time, I was able to open up this avenue. It does require a lot of work. So if you are starting a podcast, it does require hours of your day. But it is a lot of fun. So it's just being multi-passionate. And as you said, following your passion, following what you love doing is important. And just don't be afraid to go for it and ask for it too. Because sometimes it's also a different job at the same company. And we think if we come and ask for that different job, no one is going to give it to us. But unless you ask, you will never know. And that is the lesson that I learned as well, that I was able to ask and I got what I wanted. I wanted to do marketing from general real estate to development. And I was given that opportunity and I absolutely loved it. So you just have to ask for what do you want.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes change can be hard. Change can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. To me, change is exciting. And it's just really a mindset shift.
Yes. So for anyone listening who is feeling inspired and would love to connect and learn more about your work, where would be the best place to find you?
Oh, you can find me on LinkedIn. I think that's probably the best way. Happy to connect and always love meeting fellow marketers and multi-unit like-minded people. So slide into the messages. Love to meet you.
Amazing. And is there anything exciting coming up at Stretch Zone that we should keep our eye on?
Well, we've got a lot of big things. So we're gearing up now for our annual convention where we're really going to the foundation and set the vision for 2026 and some big initiatives coming our way. So a lot of exciting things in terms of development, enhancements to the brand, some new technology things, and really additional avenues of support for our franchisees that we're working to execute on the franchisor level. So can't give away more than that, but a lot of exciting things coming down the pike. So it's going to be a fun back half of the year and a really exciting 2026.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Lindsey. It was such a pleasure having you. I love all of the lessons and cannot wait to see what you do next.
Well, I appreciate you having me. It's been great chatting and thank you for the time.
And that's it for today's episode of the Marketing Your Way podcast. I hope you're walking away with fresh ideas, new insights, and the confidence to take your next step. If this episode spoke to you, please take a moment to leave a review. It helps more women in marketing find the show and build a marketing career on their terms. And hey, don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Until next time, keep building your marketing career your way.